Story by A Lord Over Birds. June 24th, 2012. 6:17 a.m. Document FAF 1147. Briefing from Jen Adams. On June 8th, 2012, a number of files were uncovered detailing series of experiments by the Axis powers to manufacture the ultimate weapon. According to a briefing resting loosely on top of the filing cabinet in which the aforementioned files were uncovered. Update 12/2/2015. By order of General Jensen, all location names are to be completely removed from all copies of this document, including any internally distributed copies. All team members involved in the execution of Operation Ritter are to be under the guard of no fewer than 4 armed security personnel at all times. See document FAF 2048 for details. Hoping to gain an edge in the war, Axis powers set up a laboratory in a remote region of Redacted. There they commenced research on what was to be the ultimate weapon. In the building where the files were recovered, 5 skeletons were discovered, each twisted into gruesome positions, and each missing at least one limb. 2 wore the raiment of guards, whilst 2 were clothed in the garb of prisoners. The last was clad in a lab coat, a scientist. The 2 dressed as prisoners were extremely curious. One bore the marks of a high-level radiation exposure, and one of our Geiger counters revealed high levels of radiation within several feet of the skeleton. The other appears to have been a very large human being, approximately 11 feet tall. Examination of the bone is underway, but at a first glance, the bone appears thicker than average human bone. I have here the aforementioned files and leave you here to judge them for yourselves what has transpired. The files. An unusually short briefing resting atop the filing cabinet in which the other files were discovered. It reads as follows. January 3rd, 1944. 5:06 p.m. Briefing Colonel Ritter. Greetings. This laboratory at Redacted has been established for the purpose of researching the ultimate weapon to defeat the Allies and establish the superiority of the fatherland. Your research duties will include caring for 3 test subjects who are prisoners of war and no other value to us. You are free to test any weapon design you may come up with on them. At least 5 armed guards are to be stationed around the laboratory at any given time. Colonel Klaus Ritter. The briefing shows that official research was indeed conducted in the lab at Redacted, and that Colonel Ritter authorized it. It also reveals that 5 armed guards and 3 subjects were present. 3 of the guards and 1 of the subjects were among those that vanished from the laboratory. A note found atop the briefing, written in haste. According to the 3 surviving researchers, Sue, blood splatter covers the rest of their name, has been slowly transforming since late March. But they never knew it would escalate to this. I have distracted it from the others to give them time to escape, sealing my own fate. Most of the deceased are marked by blast marks on the floor where they died, pardoning the 2 other test subjects and 2 guards and a researcher killed in crossfire. I told the others to meet me under this window so I could jump into the vehicle, but I hear it pounding on the door now. By the time I unlatch the window, it will be in here. I'd like to say goodbye to my family before he gets a hold of me. Signed, Claire. Blood splatter covers this part. Rit. The last word ends in a mark, as if the pen was dragged across it. We are unable to verify that the signature is that of Klaus Ritter, which appears likely, but as such, we must assume that it is until further evidence can be procured. Until we can find out for sure, investigation is still classified as unfinished. Addendum. The name covered in blood splatter may very well be Subject C. There is no other name that could fit it there. A document found at the very top of the stack of papers inside the filing cabinet. it details several different versions of an ultimate weapon. The scientists have formulated 3 different versions of this ultimate weapon. We've been asked to research. They are as follows. A beam of particulate matter of some sort, Subject A. An artificial super soldier, Subject B. A potent contagious living fluid or virus, Subject C. The 12 scientists we have been divided into 3 groups of 4 to study their individual topics. Redacted, ahead of the research department. Due to potential protocol violation, only select members of the investigation are to be given access to the name of the researcher, as it has been discovered that he has a living descendant who is currently being tracked down. A manila folder containing 3 stapled bundles of paper, each detailing the research and experiments of the 3 aforementioned groups of scientists. The research itself has been contained in the event that one may attempt to replicate the results, but the results and experiments are as follows. The particulate matter beam turned out to be, although the scientists were not entirely aware of it, a beam of gamma rays emitted by the subject they were using as an energy core. The carefully constructed mechanisms in the device failed to harness the energy of the radioactive substance, and after repeated tests on Subject A, who showed no immediate symptoms, the project was scrapped approximately 1/3 of the way into the lab's lifespan. Each test consisted of a 10-second firing of a beam at Subject A. Subject A was said to become extremely weak and easily sickened after the experiment stopped, and his condition apparently persisted until the time of his death. The super soldier idea yielded better results than the particulate matter beam. Had they survived, the discoveries of these scientists could have greatly benefited humankind. As it is, much of the research has been lost as to the actual creation of the super soldier. Subject B was the test subject on which these experiments were performed. After repeated surgeries and injections of chemicals, among them a weakly radioactive isotope of barium, his bone had been reinforced with carbon fibers, and his muscles inflated by injections of steroids and HGH, among other things. No other information is available on the creation of this new human, but some is available in the aftermath of the experiments. See laboratory log below. Interestingly enough, many of the papers relating to the Super Soldier project were torn, as if by long claws, and several bore an odd green jelly-like substance at the edges of these ribs. The substance has been removed from the papers and is quarantined until further notice. The potential virus idea is by far the most detailed and methodical of the 3 documents. It closely details the painstaking creation of an artificial virus meant to stimulate the production of a degenerative compound within human cells, thus rendering those infected limp and useless. Subject C, the 3rd prisoner, was the one the virus was tested on. He at first displayed signs of weakness, but after repeated exposure to the virus, he seemed to become stronger and, as noted by one scientist, feral. Judging from these 3 documents, it can safely be reasoned that the first skeleton, bearing high levels of radiation and obvious signs of radiation exposure, was Subject A, and that the second, unnaturally large skeleton was Subject B. Further analysis of the bone has yet to occur, but if said analysis reveals carbon fibers, we will know for sure that the skeleton was Subject B. Laboratory log. A log on the behavior of the 3 subjects was discovered beneath the details of the 3 experiments. Translated, it reads as follows. March 4th, 1944. Subject A displays extended apathy and illness even a week after the weapon project was cancelled. We hope that he does not continue this trend, as he may be made useful for other projects. Subject B seems to display an urge to wander the corridors. Twice now we have found him out of his containment cell, patrolling the corridors as if he were on guard. When asked as to why he did this, his only response was that evil lurks the building. A new containment cell is currently under construction, one with reinforced doors. Subject C, on the other hand, moves frantically about his cell, muttering obscenities and other comments whenever someone enters. It has been noted that Subject C stares behind the researchers when they enter the room, and the analysis of recordings has shown that many of his comments are about a nameless evil. Could this evil be related to the one perceived by Subject B? March 31st, 1944. Subject A still shows no signs of interest in the world around him, instead constantly muttering about the strange feelings he has been experiencing. It has been decided that further observation of Subject A should not be written down unless said subject were to display an unusual action or characteristic. Subject A's strange feelings are probably due to radiation exposure, not the evil that the other two subjects found. This note has been added to deter the more occult-minded of those individuals involved in the investigation from theorizing that this evil was affecting everyone. Jen Jensen. Subject B has not managed to escape his cell ever since being moved to the new cell, and we hope that he stops thinking about this evil, as his misgivings about certain areas of the laboratory are beginning to interfere with our research. Subject C, however, seems to be growing wilder by the day. His fingernails, no matter how much they are trimmed off, seem to be growing back longer and sharper, almost becoming extensions of his fingers. No more significant entries, that is, entries not detailing the same thing as this one, appear until May. May 16th, 1944. Subject A has begun to walk around his containment cell without stopping. He mutters endlessly of something watching him during the night from Subject C's cell. After around half an hour, his legs will collapse from overuse. Apparently, the weapon we used on him did something after all. We are doing our best to prevent him from moving too much. Oh, now they realize their particle beam thing was actually detrimental to the health of Subject A. Colonel Harrier. Subject B has not ceased his habit of avoiding certain areas of the lab, and we have been forced to reroute the path we take from his cell to the testing area to avoid areas that he will not go into. Subject C, however, has changed frighteningly. His skin tone seems to have darkened terribly, and his saliva has taken on a strange greenish tint. We hope the virus isn't responsible for this, but if it is, it should not be replicated. The green stuff on the papers about Subject B was probably some stuff he spit off. Colonel Harrier. The scientists are beginning to become aware of the effects of their experiments, but by now it is almost too late. An audio tape detailing what is to be the last report of the lab's run. Apparently meant to be a routine report, the audio tape was to become a crucial piece in our investigation, revealing what happened to the lab's residents. It was found with 3 close-set gouge marks, as if something tried to destroy it, but was apparently unaware of the tape's durability.
June 8th, 1944. They are cancelling our experiments. Subject C has become something inhuman, and we do not believe it is entirely because of our virus. The evil he was muttering about before, it seems to be manifesting itself in him. He is to be terminated this evening. What was that? Oh God, oh God. Subject C has escaped. And Subject A is dead. His throat is out. This may be our last recording. Oh God. Subject B has escaped as well. He's running towards us, but he's now attacking Subject C. His only weakness is... Oh, fuck. Save yourselves, come on. Run!
Subject C escaped and killed Subject A before turning on the researchers and guards. Subject B broke free from his confinement, attempting to save the guards and the researchers by attacking Subject C. Apparently Subject B understood the weakness of Subject C, but was cut off by Subject C's scream. Audio analysis has been unable to determine what this was. The research recording fled the scene, and apparently wrote the note found attached to the underside of the tape before filing away the documents. It is believed that the splattering noise came from the Subject B's blood, as Subject C slashed at him. The researcher appears to have attempted to document everything he could, and his contributions may prove valuable. A small notebook taped to the underside of the audio tape transcribed above. It reads, 1:04 p.m., June 8th. Subject C has escaped, possessed by a demon. No, fuck the people calling me a superstitious idiot. That's the only thing it can be. Subject B seems to be the only one who has any effect on Subject C so far. Our bullets have been useless. Most of the guards have been slain. Oh God. General Ritter is visiting tomorrow. Subject C, or whatever the fuck that thing is now, has retired to some tunnel in the basement. The surviving guard, 2 researchers and I are going to attempt to hide and ride it out. 11:31 a.m. June 9th. General Ritter has arrived. We're going to see if we can get out. 12:42 p.m. June 9th. The thing came back out of its hiding place. General Ritter saved all of us by distracting it and running the other way. I hear it now. It's lost him. It's frustrated. I think he's running between rooms. I keep hearing doors. Perhaps he's trying to distract it. He told us to meet him under this very window in a vehicle once we get out. So that's what we'll do. That's the end of this note. I'm leaving this place. The notebook ends here. Nobody is sure how it became attached to the underside of the audio tape. Conclusions. We have since managed to piece together most of the story. The researchers tested 3 different types of ultimate weapon. One was a short-term failure, although it resulted in severe radiation sickness later on. The second resulted in a large being that seemed only to do good, including fighting evil for the sake of its captors. The third resulted in a demonic being that had once been human, immune to bullets, but not something else. The words of Subject B, drowned by the scream, sound like its name, which may mean that shouting out its name weakens it to those that shout it. This being, on June 8, 1944, escaped its confines and proceeded to kill everything it could. A vehicle brought by General Ritter resulted in the salvation of several researchers and a guard from the building, although General Ritter met his own death there in saving the others. There are still several fuzzy parts. What is the green substance left on the papers about Subject B? Colonel Harrier believes it is Subject C's saliva, but why would saliva be on its claws? Why were the papers about Subject B destroyed? Could it be that Subject C didn't want anyone to replicate the experiment and uncover its weakness to Subject B's kind? Why did all of the people killed directly by Subject C vanish and leave a blast mark where they had fallen? These questions remain unanswered. April 12th, 2014. Introductory speech by Jen Adams and Jen Jensen delivered at an intelligence meeting, transcribed by Secretary Frost. Begin transcription. 11:24 a.m. Greetings. As you're all aware, it has been a year, 9 months, and 28 days since I issued the briefing now documented as FAF 1147. You may not, however, be aware of the expedition into the forest of Germany launched by an amateur group of Monster Hunter students who had just graduated and who were looking for something to do abroad. This group headed to the Hambrucker Bay Morbach Nature Reserve in Morbach, Germany, where they hoped to find evidence of the Morbach monster. Supposedly, a werewolf was killed in Morbach several centuries ago, and today a candle still burns in Morbach as a warning of sorts. In 1988, this candle went out, and a wolf-like figure was apparently spotted by personnel stationed at a nearby United States airbase. The students believed that if they extinguished the flame on said candle, the monster would appear to them in the forest that night. At this point, Colonel Harrier asks who would be dumb enough to go into a forest looking for a monster that would kill any humans it encountered. General Adams acts as if he did not hear him. The locals did not permit them to go near the candle, but the students headed out into the forest that night anyway. They did not return, but their campsite was located by rangers some weeks later. Gen Adams pauses and turns to Gen Jensen. General Jensen? At this point, General Jensen takes over. I will spare you the formalities of introducing myself, as I dare say you know who I am. Without further ado then, I have here this. General Jensen places a briefcase upon the table and opens it. It is full of manila folders. Each one of you will receive a copy of this briefing today, but before you do, I would like to go over exactly what these folders contain. The artifacts that are the only keys to completing our goal. End of introductory speech. The files. A travel diary, scorched, with all the pages torn out. The travel diary was found lying in the middle of a long dead fire pit, its pages scattered about it. The outer cover, which was of leather, contained only 3 readable letters scratched on the inside. The letters A, J, and N. As we were unable to retrieve any information other than vague local reports of the travelers, we can only assume that AJN is, or rather was, the owner of the diary. A set of exactly 212 pages measuring 9 inches high and 6 inches wide, and a bundle of 212 small sticks, all 8 inches in length and 1/3 of an inch in diameter, and all from a type of tree not found in that area. Contrary to the term scattered used earlier, a more accurate term for the arrangement of the pages would be just that, an arrangement. The pages, each one positioned exactly 33.740848 feet from the diary cover, formed a perfect circle precisely 211.89252544 feet in circumference, arranged so that the bottom corners of each page were touching the bottom corners of the page to either side of it. What was more, each one was blank, pinned to the ground with a small stick, and lying face up with the bottom of the page facing the fire pit. The top edge of every single paper appeared to have been smeared with something green or yellow, and furthermore, each one was stiff and slightly grainy. A chemical analysis revealed that they had been soaked in salt water. Upon closer inspection, each stick, supporting the same greenish-yellow smear on the outward-facing surface, was noted to have been hand-carved into its current shape. The large trees from which these branches came from are located on private property in Brandenburg, a northeastern German state. Under the guise of members of an unspecified environmental agency, several CIA agents were sent to the location to request permission from the landowners to inspect the trees. The trees themselves, it must be said, are the remainder of the infamous forest swastika, a patch of large trees carefully arranged so that in the spring and fall, when their leaves change color, a large arboreal swastika would be visible from the sky, yellow against the dark green of the pines around it. Note: I know I said these pages were blank, but after typing up this document I received a memo from the boys in the lab stating that they had found the same set of numbers handwritten at the top of every single page, like a title: 1021145819444. The purpose of this is unclear. General Jensen. A video camera perfectly intact with a full roll of unused film stuck inside. Nobody seems to have any idea why they changed the film, and then didn't use it. See next file. Note: another error on my part. I need to wait for a full lab analysis before writing these things up in the future. One single frame of the film stock was used. 1. I have since added the new file to the collection. The frame itself is confidential, and the viewing of it is, for the moment, limited to myself, Colonel Harrier, and General Adams. General Jensen. canister of undeveloped film. Only about a third of the film stock was used. It has since been developed and contains 20 minutes of audio and video footage of an unknown group of young men, perhaps aged anywhere from 22 to 26. 12 minutes of this footage simply consists of them setting up the camera and exchanging various factoids about local legends, but towards the end, one holds the camera up to himself and explains that they are the, name redacted, there to obtain never-before-seen footage of the Morbach monster. The film cuts off here, and resumes several seconds later with the same man filming himself speaking whilst talking. A town can be seen in the background. Judging from what can be said in the film, the name of the town is Whitlick, the town from which came the legend that brought the group here in the first place. The camera shifts around to face a shrine, upon which rests a single lit candle. As the group approaches the shrine, several locals passing by stop them and ask something in German, since translated to, "What business have you here?" Nobody responds. Evidently, they did not bother learning even rudimentary German before coming to the country. They're shooed away, and the film cuts off abruptly as the camera operator turns to walk away. Nothing out of the ordinary appears in the footage. A tape recorder, found with 3 close-set gouge marks across its face, all of which contained what appears to be some sort of dried green gelatinous material. The tape within was undamaged. When played, a voice, the voice of the man who had introduced himself in the video footage, was heard.
June 17th, 2013. It's around 11:56 p.m. here in Morbach, and we're hanging around camp waiting for midnight, because that's when everything comes out, isn't it? Anyway, I'll start again when midnight hits. Okay, it just struck midnight, and... What was that, Jim? Did you hear that?
Yeah, there's Bigfoot.
Right. I'm gonna get the camera out, but I'll leave this on. Holy shit! Holy shit, what the fuck is that thing? What the hell? What the hell is that? Okay, I don't know what the fuck that thing was, but I never want to see anything like that ever again. Killed almost everyone. You okay, buddy?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good. You'll be fine. We'll just...
A loud thump is heard, and the speaker's voice grows indistinct. It sounds as if he has dropped the recorder. The tape is silent for the rest of the tape's duration except for the voices and leaves rustling. A small camera with no film inside, with cracks on its back, as if it had been stepped on but sunk into leaf litter and pine needles below it. There is nothing significant about this camera, other than the fact that it seems to have been modified to use film stock, which would explain why there was a roll of film stock with only one used frame inside the camera. Note: I don't know much about photography and film, but if I were to have a say in this, I'd say this camera was designed to produce stop-motion films by taking a large volume of photographs in quick succession, like a video camera, but with a long enough delay between photographs as to produce that stop-motion effect. Colonel Harrier. Several casts of long, clawed footprints. These were recovered from the campsite. Apparently they were made by the group as evidence of the Morbach monster that they were searching for, but it was more likely that they were casts of the footprints of something much more real. An ancient fragment of rope, knotted around a tree branch, with the end cut off and frayed. It is coated in dried green slime. Is this even related to the case? It might have simply been there, and been in the way of whatever created the slime. We are unsure, but we're not ruling it out. Ashes from a number of scorch marks around the campsite. All of the marks were approximately the same size. The ashes are, according to the test results, simply scorched earth. In conclusion, Judging from the fact that the same green substance presented on some of the artifacts recovered from the abandoned laboratory and described in FAF 1147 was also present on the tape recorder, sticks, and torn-out pages littering the campsite, Subject C is still alive and well in the forest of Hagenbroker bei Morbach. Last year, as you are all well aware, we located the living descendant of the researcher who commissioned the experiments at the abandoned laboratory, and he has agreed to supply us with his grandfather's files. Last year, as you may not be so aware, we also began working on creating our own version of Subject B. I see disapproval on your faces, but it has to be done for the sake of this world. In approximately a month's time, he shall be ready to accompany us. General Adams. General Adams takes over. Thank you, General Jensen. Now, to examine some of the other evidence here. The travel diary was positioned so that its top and bottom were aligned with the southwest-northeast axis. This could be a coincidence, but judging from the footprints we found, the ones that have been cast, whatever made them headed northeast after arriving at the campsite. Was the diary aligned so as a hint, a clue? We can only guess. As for the pages, I may have to let Colonel Harrier explain this one. General Adams steps back, and Colonel Harrier, slightly surprised, stands up and walks to the head of the table. Okay, so, well, I guess I should explain this one then. Alright, so, As silly as it might sound, people believe that scattering a ring of salt, an unbroken ring of salt, around an area would protect them from demons. Considering that these pages were soaked in salt water, the sticks may have been there to prevent the pages from blowing away and breaking the ring, and considering that only the outer edges of the pages were smeared with the green slime gelatin stuff, it may have actually worked. General Adams and General Jensen both give Colonel Harrier a stern look. This was not part of their speech. Colonel Harrier appears nervous. Well, it's true. If Subject C has gotten past the pages, well, wouldn't have gotten the stuff on the inside of the pages too. Anyway, yeah. That's what I think was going on. As for the sticks, well, I can think of an explanation as to why they might have used the sticks from the forest swastika. See, Subject C was a prisoner of war, and despite its new form, it might have remembered that the Nazi scientists held the key to its existence and possibly the key to its undoing. Of course, it would be a stretch to say that Subject C recognized where the sticks had come from, so perhaps the choice was simply made by a deluded, traumatized mind. As for how they got a hold of them, I cannot even begin to offer an explanation. The fact they were all hand-carved like they are suggests to me the workings of a mind frantically trying to restore the world to a plane it understands and soothe itself by completing repetitive actions that it feels will fix something. General Adams. General Adams steps forward, looking interested. Thank you, Colonel. You may be seated. Colonel Harrier returns to his seat. Colonel Harrier brought up a point that I admit nor I think General Jensen did not consider. The mystery of the sticks is still, however, how they ended up at the campsite. Moving on. The single frame of film. As General Jensen wrote, the viewing of this frame is currently limited to the 3 in charge of this project. However, it will be said that it contained a single blurry shot of a large and dark figure standing with its arms held out at its sides, facing the photographer across a strip of something light-colored, most likely the ring of pages. As obvious as it may sound, we believe this to be the only known photograph of Subject C. Finally, the tape recorder. Subject C still seems to have no idea how durable some of these products are. An uneasy laugh goes around the table, and General Adams smiles grimly. Perhaps it tried to destroy any record of its vocalizations. Speaking of which, General Jensen. General Jensen removes a briefcase from under the table, places it upon the table, and opens it, holding up a small and very battered tape. General Adams gives another grim smile. The boys in the lab developed a more sophisticated sound analysis algorithm, and after analyzing the older tapes of Subject B's shouting, we believe what Subject B was shouting was its cry. I will not take this for a sure fact, but in a little under 2 months' time, when we launch our expedition, we shall supply our own version of Subject B with its tape in case we are correct. If not, well, let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. You're all dismissed. End of transcription.